Behind Stalin's iron curtain of power, a circle of men turned a nation into a prison of fear. Their names are still whispered with dread: Beria, Molotov, Kaganovich. It wasn't just state terror that haunted the Soviet Union. It was secret councils orchestrating mass death and unchecked predators hiding behind official titles. The darkest secrets of Joseph Stalin's inner circle aren't cold statistics. They're the last screams of those vanished in black cars, the signatures that sent thousands to the grave, and the kinds of horrors Beria unleashed with impunity in the shadows of his villa. What compelled these men to become architects of terror? And how deep did their betrayals truly go? What follows will change forever how you see power, loyalty, and the price of survival. Power in Stalin's Soviet Union did not flow through the grand halls of the Kremlin or the formal votes of the Politburo. Instead, real authority gathered late at night, behind closed doors, in the smoke-filled rooms of Stalin's private dacha. Here, a handful of trusted men, never more than 5 or 6, sat at his table. They called these gatherings working sessions, but nothing about them was official. No minutes, no records, no open debate. Orders were spoken, not written, and the fate of millions could be sealed over a glass of vodka and a single nod from Stalin himself. The system was built on secrecy and fear. Stalin rarely trusted the full Politburo. Instead, he relied on these small councils to decide everything that mattered. Who would be arrested, which regions would be starved, which rivals would disappear. The members, Molotov, Kaganovich, Beria, Malenkov, and sometimes Mikoyan, knew that a single misstep could turn them from confidant to target. Attendance was strictly controlled, and the agenda was whatever Stalin wanted it to be. Sometimes, the only other witness was the clock on the wall, ticking past midnight as destinies were decided. These informal councils bypassed every safeguard. When Stalin wanted a purge, he did not call for a vote. He summoned his circle, named the next enemy, and waited for silent agreement. Dissent meant danger. Sometimes a man would leave the meeting with a new assignment. Other times he would not be seen again. The machinery of terror began here, in whispers and glances, far from the eyes of the party. Every secret council deepened the culture of suspicion, a world where loyalty was survival and silence could mean complicity or death. Lavrenti Beria did not need a committee or a council to exercise power. For him, the levers of terror extended into the most private corners of Moscow. Night after night, his armored limousine roamed the city. Witnesses recalled the pattern. A young woman would be approached by plainclothes officers, promised a meeting with a powerful official, and ushered into Beria's car. Some returned, shaken and silent. Many vanished. Beria's villa on Kachalov Lane became a place of whispered dread. After his arrest in 1953, investigators unearthed human remains from shallow graves near the property, bones belonging to women and girls, some bearing signs of violence. Drivers and guards, later questioned under oath, described routine abductions, late-night deliveries, and the chilling silence that followed. Official files, still partially sealed, confirmed the existence of security logs and bodyguard rosters matching these accounts. Yet the full list of victims remains hidden, their identities erased by secrecy and fear. Forensic teams, decades later, pieced together fragments, jewelry, clothing, bone, but never enough for certainty. Beria's crimes blurred the line between state power and personal depravity. In the shadow of the Kremlin, authority became a tool for private predation. The terror he spread was not just political, it was intimate, and it left scars that Moscow has never fully exhumed. Vyacheslav Molotov's power did not rest on charisma or fear, but on the steady movement of his pen. Between 1937 and 1938, his signature appeared on 372 execution lists, each one a death warrant, each name a life erased at the stroke of midnight. The process was mechanical. Lists arrived from the NKVD, sometimes with hundreds of names. Molotov read, initialed, and passed them on. In the margins, a rare question or a single word, sometimes a request for mercy, almost always denied. Even his wife, Polina Zhemchuzhina, was not spared. She vanished into the camps on Stalin's orders, while Molotov continued to sign. In these records, the machinery of terror found its perfect bureaucrat, precise, unflinching, and loyal to the end. Lazar Kaganovich wielded power not with a pistol, but with a ledger. In 1932, he traveled to Ukraine, enforcing grain quotas that left barns empty and families starving. Blacklists condemned entire villages. No food, no supplies, no way out. The law of spikelets sent peasants to prison or the firing squad for picking up stray wheat. While the state exported trainloads of grain abroad, millions in Ukraine withered. Between 3.5 and 5 million died in the famine that followed. Kaganovich's orders came by telegram, but each line sealed a death sentence. Policy became a weapon, and hunger did the killing. When the archives finally opened, the scale of complicity became impossible to deny. Execution lists with Molotov's signature, famine orders initialed by Kaganovich, and NKVD memos bearing Beria's handwriting, all preserved behind locked doors for decades. Testimonies from guards and secretaries filled in the gaps, confirming what survivors had whispered. In the aftermath, Beria was said to have boasted to Molotov, "I did him in, I saved all of you." The files did not settle every score, but the pattern was clear. Terror was not a secret, but a system, and almost no one at that table left with clean hands. Between 1936 and 1938, Stalin's inner circle authorized the execution of over 681,000 people, with figures like Molotov personally signing 372 execution lists. The enforced famine in Ukraine, directed by Kaganovich and Molotov, caused up to 5 million deaths. Declassified Soviet archives confirm the direct involvement of these men in mass repression, while forensic investigations near Beria's villa point to personal crimes enabled by unchecked power. Yet many original NKVD files remained classified, and the full extent of individual responsibility is still debated by historians. Today, the documented legacy of Stalin's inner circle shapes debates on state accountability and the dangers of unchecked authority. The evidence makes clear terror was a product of both policy and personal acts, carried out by those closest to Stalin. The darkest secrets are no longer hidden, they are written in the records that survived.